Alright, welcome back. So in this video, this is probably going to be a short video. I basically just wanted to talk about uh, the basically the process of charging using music as an aid, right? Which I included in the book. I think I already talked a lot about using music, but basically I just wanted to make this video to kind of make it clear. So just to go over this first point, music is very helpful for charging, right? So I don't know if I made it super clear, but basically when I charge emotion, I always use music. I've rarely ever done it without using music. You can do it, but there's just really no reason to do it without using music, in my opinion. Because music is very, very helpful because music, and I think I mentioned it before, music is like a lens, right? So through the reflection principle, music helps you to sort of lock on to certain frequencies. And kind of just to go over this point, music helps you to control the context expressed by your intention, which is the reflection principle. And like we said, context is frequency in chapter 7. So, and it allows you to, and it helps you to control the frequency of your charge, right? So generally the story you tell in your mind is basically represents the context or the command components expressed by your intention. But music adds that extra dimension, right? So music is also a context. The type of music that you're playing actually is still an expression of the command components of your intention, and that particular expression, by the absolute nature of your subconscious, will help you to lock on to particular subconscious frequency. And so you see that same principle, like I think I mentioned it before, you see that same principle when you're watching movies, right? So when some scene is occurring in the movie, you'll hear music playing in the background to enhance your subconscious response to it. And the reason that happens is because it enhances the context of the scene, and that allows you to lock on to a particular frequency even more powerfully. And I mentioned in the book, even the audible sensory stimulation, right, has an effect on the body that helps your subconscious instinct to respond in a particular way, which helps you to charge at a particular frequency, right? So music is very, very, very helpful, right? Pretty much almost all forms of entertainment use music in some way to enhance the context, right, of the scene or the story, and that allows you to charge in it increases and enhances your ability to charge and lock onto a particular frequency, right? So I always use music to charge. It doesn't matter what emotion I'm trying to charge, or what frequency I'm trying to charge, I use music. Now, I don't use it for performance charging. We'll talk more about that next chapter. But I do use it all the time for emotional charging, right? So you always want to use music, and music is also, just to go over this, music as a charging aid, which is really what it is, right? It helps you to charge, so it's a charging aid. But music as a charging aid also is logistically favorable, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, music, you could basically play music pretty much any time. So remember what we said about the intermittent nature of charging, right? Charging favors intermittency, meaning it's better to charge in short periods of time over the course of multiple sessions or multiple days, rather than a super long, continuous, nonstop interval, like an hour or 2 hours or something, right? You're better off charging using the main charging technique in intervals of like maybe 30 seconds to a minute, or it doesn't really have to be that short, but like a couple of minutes, and then as you do it more and more, you start to develop more subconscious volatility, and then you got more leeway. So now you could go longer and longer and longer without necessarily eating away at your charge so much. Of course, if you keep going super long, then you do eat away at your charge, and you lose your charge. Subconscious entropy occurs, right? But music, because it's so easy to play music pretty much anywhere you are, right, using your phone, you can just play it anywhere, play it for a couple minutes, pick any song you want. Every song, you would pick the song that matches the frequency that you want to charge, right? So if I want to charge the feeling of love, right, I wouldn't play like heavy metal, right, or something like that, right? That doesn't match the frequency. So I'd play some song, some romantic love song that matches the frequency I want to charge. Right? If I want to charge, this is more charging a belief, which we'll talk more about this later in the second book, when we talk about metaphysics, metaphysical aspect of the subconscious, you could charge a belief, right? For that, I would also can use certain types of music, right? It could be like epic music, right? The type of music they play in sports movies, right? I could use that to charge the belief of confidence or ambition, right? So music, whatever the case, I mainly use inspirational videos, like motivational videos when I'm charging that type of frequency. And I'll talk more about that later, but you can still use music too. But yeah, you can play music anywhere you are in very short intervals of a couple minutes. So if I'm walking down the street, I could charge real quick, just put on my phone, put on my headphones, play music for like a minute or two while I'm charging, and then I can stop, right? And if I'm at work, I can do the same thing. So I can keep, wherever I am, really, it's logistically favorable. So I could just charge for a couple of minutes. Now, the reason I say put it that way here is because performance charging is completely different, right? The logistics on that are very difficult to deal with. And so, again, we'll talk about that next chapter. But for emotion, you can use music to help charge it, and it's very logistically favorable. You can charge pretty much wherever you are. So yeah, music, so just wanted to make it clear, music is very, very helpful for charging. I pretty much charge whenever I'm charging emotion, I always use music. I really don't know that I've ever done it without music. No, I have done it as test, but not seriously. I just always use music. And to go over this last point, the one caveat I do want to give is that it's important not to focus too much on the music while charging. Basically, when you focus directly on the music, right, so basically let's say 100% of your attention is on the music, you're basically not telling a story in your mind using the main charging technique, right? You're just focused on it. That'll work when the music is new, right? So when it has no negative memory, your subconscious has a natural volatility to it, and then it charges pretty easily, right? The moment subconscious entropy starts to happen, and the song gets old and is full of negative memory, you can't just focus on the song, even if it's 100% of your attention. You can't just focus on the song and kind of charge all this energy, right? You might, to be fair, I shouldn't say that. You probably could still do it with 100% of your attention, but when your subconscious is in its ground state, it naturally causes you not to put 100% of your attention on things, right? Your body sort of splits your attention up so you can multitask. So if you put 100% of your attention on it, it will still charge. But again, you will feel a compulsion not to do that because of the negative memory, right? So when a song gets very old, right, has a lot of negative memory, and you focus on it, your subconscious entropy will happen, and you'll feel a reversion to your ground state. So you can't focus directly on the music. You want it to be more in the background. You want to focus more on the story you're telling. You want to put most of your attention on the story. Some of it can still go on the music because the music does add context, but you don't want too much of it to be on the music, right? Otherwise, negative memory will just build up. So that's something I kind of experience sometimes when I'm charging using music. I have to remember not to just, sometimes I get like a little bit lazy, right? So I'm supposed to be doing a charging technique, but then I'll just kind of relax and focus on the music and just kind of wait to feel more emotion, and it doesn't work like that. You have to focus on the charging technique and put your attention on the story you tell in your mind. Right, so yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it. This will be a short video compared to my other videos. But yeah, just when you're charging emotion, to reiterate, it's good to use music. I do it pretty much, like I said, I almost only do it using music. Music also helps you, on top of music helping you to control the frequency, it even will help you to get the shade of the frequency that you want to charge. So we talked about that in chapter 2. In the next video, I'm going to talk about, I think it's subject morphism. So we're going to talk about another principle related to subjects, which is a bit similar to subject closeness. And then we're going to talk about special charging conditions. Well, there are two. I don't think I'm going to cover one of them. It's rotation. I don't really think I need to cover that in these videos. But we're going to talk about a very special and a very important charging condition called shock charging, which is a result of subject morphism. And then I think the last thing will be a morning charge, and then we're going to be ready to move on to chapter 13. Right, so that's it for now, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video.